Joining us on today's webinar, my name is Ben Schwefel. I'm a trust and estates lawyer with Murtaugh, Treglia, Stern, and Diley down in Orange County, and I'm also the chair of the education committee for the new lawyer section. The new lawyer section represents all lawyers in their first 8 years of practice, and it's our mission to advance practical skills, leadership, pro bono opportunities, networking, and support to meet the unique needs of our diverse community of new lawyers. For more information regarding the new lawyer section, you can check out some of our other upcoming programming. You can visit the website calawyers.org and then click on the calendar tab. In addition to that, we're also excited to share the California Lawyers Association biggest event of the year, the annual meeting. It's coming up September 15th to 17th at the Hilton Bayfront in San Diego. During that annual meeting, the new lawyer section is thrilled to host a reception to honor Diva Shah, the 2022 recipient of the Jack Berman Award for Achievement, on Friday, September 16th. We'll have speakers at that reception, including the Honorable Rupert Birdsong of LA Superior Court and President of the California Judges Association, and the Honorable Alex Calero of the San Diego Superior Court and former chair of the California Young Lawyers Association, which is now in the new lawyer section. Attendance is complimentary, no RSVP required, and we hope to see you there. Now, with all that out of the way, I have the privilege of introducing today's speaker, Emily Hirstikorn. We're grateful to have Emily back with us for part 2 of her series on building career confidence. And on today's webinar, she'll discuss how self-advocacy can help boost your career confidence as you set healthy boundaries, get resourceful, manage your time, and speak up more at work. And with all that, I will turn over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Ben. All right, I'm thrilled to be back. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. There is a, bear with me, there's a little pop-up on your window. Thank you for your patience. Tech is not my friend. If anyone follows me, I had some major tech boo-boos a couple of weeks ago and then got COVID, which just magnifies everything. Okay, Ben, tell me if I'm good with the screen share.
You are, I can see it.
Okay, great, and it's not cut off?
No, it looks good, but if it's cut off, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone, nice to be back. I was just saying I love to see faces when I do programs, and we have so many people who are coming today, so that is just not possible, which is also wonderful news. I love this topic for lawyers because we advocate for others and sometimes are lacking in self-advocacy. So it's very important for career confidence. We're going to talk about why in just a minute here. I am going to share a little bit of information about me if you don't know me or if you weren't with us last time, just to catch you up to speed. I think it's important to explain why the heck I'm here, why this particular group is really meaningful to me, and why this topic is really of interest. So Ben touched on it briefly, but I'm going to cover 4 components of self-advocacy today, specifically for early career lawyers to focus their efforts in order to build confidence immediately and also over time. So you can boost confidence in the moment, kind of shift your energy up on demand. And then the more you practice this stuff, you build up these skills and it becomes second nature. So it's also beneficial for the long run. So we're going to discuss each area. I'll be sharing with you some quick coaching exercises to get you moving in the right direction. And then you'll walk away with an action plan. So I want you to be taking notes. This is a workshop. I don't do presentations. So get your pen or your Remarkable. If you don't know what that is, email me. It's a digital notepad. It's awesome. But get your pen, paper out. I want you taking notes. Maybe you're typing on your computer. That's all good too. Before we get there, again, I'm going to share a little bit about my cumulative background. All the pieces are important. And please keep in mind, while I don't see faces, I love for these programs to be interactive. So feel free to use the chat. We also have the Q&A. We'll be answering questions at the end. But if something is pressing and comes up, Ben's going to be monitoring the chat for me. So please use it if something is burning and you would like to chime in. I also really want to give a quick shout out to Ben, who's here with us on his birthday. If we could all just give him a round of applause. He can't hear you, but that's okay. Thought that was really wonderful when I saw that on LinkedIn. Yes, Ben, I do get notifications, personal notifications about you on LinkedIn, which is pretty funny. Okay, so who the heck am I? Who the heck am I to speak specifically on career confidence? I'm a certified professional coach, empowering leaders and emerging leaders in demanding fields, almost exclusively law, but I've got some other folks I support, to lead their teams and themselves. Self-leadership is a thing, folks. So we want to lead our teams and also ourselves more effectively, confidently, and authentically so they can be their very best at work without sacrificing who they are at their core. For a fulfilling career, a sustainable career, we have to be ourselves, right? And we have to be doing something that makes sense for us, is in alignment. So we want to be ourselves and performing well. At the end of the day, I'm helping people maximize their energy in two main areas: performance and well-being. I like to think of it as how are you doing and what are you doing? Right? The performance piece, what are you doing? Is your work product good? Are you advancing? And then how are you doing? The well-being piece. So both are critical components for overall success and sustainability of your career. I also have some exciting news to share with all of you today, a little bit different than last time. So please stick around for the very end of the workshop. I'll be sharing more about it then. But for now, let's get back to it. So my background is in legal practice. I practiced for just a couple of years. It's part of my story. I was not doing well. I had a great job. I had a good relationship with one of the partners and really enjoyed some of the work, didn't like some of the other work. And I was super high stress and focused exclusively on the performance piece, okay? None of the well-being piece at all. I also was not advocating for myself properly. I wasn't working on my communication skills. I had poor self-awareness. All of these pieces were missing for me. Okay, so I really struggled. I struggled with leadership. I struggled day to day to keep my energy up. I was missing out on my personal life, and that was rough. So all of this stuff came together. It was a mess. I did move into law school career development, which was fabulous. I loved that work, and it was a really good fit for me. And I still needed to do all that work. So over the years, I have done my self-work, still doing it. If any of you have heard me speak before, I talk a lot about self-care. That is like, that piece I'm always working on. It's really challenging for me. I'm a performer, high achiever. Don't know if that resonates with you, but constantly doing the work. And then I became a certified professional coach, got a lot of tools, a lot more tools to help with these different facets of success. Again, both in terms of performance, how can I put myself out there? How can I take more risks? How can I get through when I don't feel confident? Who the hell am I to give this talk? Those thoughts pop into my head. They still do. I'm doing a live talk in October at a very big conference in Vegas. I'm going to be scared shitless. So I've got to be able to talk myself through that, prepare, and perform. And then well-being all the time, focusing there too. So lots of great tools I have that I've been using with other lawyers for a couple of years now. It's been really, really fun. And I love this particular group because I worked at the University of San Diego School of Law for years in career development, and I was the recent grad advisor. So I supported early career lawyers even prior to my formal coaching days. I was always coaching, but even prior to leaving the university. So I've been doing this for a long time with this particular demographic. I think it's so important that transition from school to the workforce is rough for everyone. And then you inevitably get in a few years and start asking yourself, what more can I be doing? Or where do I want to go next? So the topic today is really interesting because this is a great topic for your career level specifically. This is something that can take things to the next level for you. Okay, instead of sitting back, waiting for that next level opportunity, it can help you go after it and also set yourself up for success in the future. So I also did some research in undergrad in positive psychology on the concept of hope, which is goals, strategies to achieve your goals, and motivation. It's essentially coaching. So I started off doing this work a long time ago. I've always been obsessed with helping people achieve their goals and empowerment, always. And then I did a brief stint in anti-bias education. So that's an important piece of my practice too. Always thinking. Lots of conversations about microaggressions come up in coaching sessions. So if that's something you're experiencing, I see you. And it's something that certainly can be managed or figure out what to do next about it. Because over time, that shit is draining in terms of energy. Okay. So here's the deal. When I was in law school career services, as you can imagine, noticed some similar issues popping up when I started coaching, the same stuff. Over these years of doing this career development work, specifically with lawyers, the same concerns popping up over and over, lack of clarity. I don't know what I want to do, or I don't know what I want to do next, even if I know I want to leave where I'm at. Little self-awareness, misalignment when it comes to personal values. Sometimes we talk about personal professional alignment. Don't feel like I can be my true self at work or in my job. A strong inner critic. For a lot of us, that got us through our early years. Maybe through law school, you beat yourself up. You didn't do a good job, so you get back to it. There are more supportive ways to motivate action than beating yourself up. And over time, that's draining. Failure to self-advocate, that's what we're focusing on today, and failure to prioritize self-care. So these 6 concerns became the basis of a framework I developed, the Career Confidence Code. Talk about that another day, as I flipped them on their head to really help show folks how to address these concerns. So again, today we're focusing on one of them, self-advocacy. I love this one because that's really where the action is at. What can you do to make things better? This is also one of the biggest concerns for early career lawyers, where we've gotten by for years, keeping our heads down, taking the assignment and just doing the work. That's literally how I was successful in law school, right? I didn't have to ask for anything. I just did the work. I studied my ass off and then I was successful. It doesn't work when you get out into the real world. It's not enough. So I've shared a little bit about me and my personal story, but what I just shared, I mean, that's the self-advocacy piece. It worked when I was in college. It worked when I was in law school. And then getting out in the real world, things are not so black and white. You just get the work assignment done and that's it. To really excel in advance and have a fulfilling career, you can't just do the work that you are assigned. That risks boredom, not feeling fulfilled or interested anymore, so you lose engagement over time. You might feel out of alignment, we touched on earlier. You might get passed up for new opportunities that you did not express your interest in. You may also overdo the traditional work tasks and then fail to develop your business skills, which are important for advancement for a lot of folks, especially in traditional structures where you're trying to make partner or work for yourself. You gotta know how to run a business. Or worse, failing to take care of yourself. If you are literally doing work all the time, the traditional tasks, there's no time to take care of yourself. So just some examples of the impact of sitting back and not advocating for yourself. That was definitely my story. Private practice, I burned out really quickly, you guys, really, really fast when I was just doing the work and I wasn't having meaningful conversations with my supervisors. I wasn't asking for support and I wasn't taking care of myself. I was frustrated, exhausted, angry, all of which I then carried home, and it affected my personal life, was a terrible partner. And then it can feel hopeless when you're unhappy. Like, how could things change when you expect everyone else to change things for you and you're not going after it? So coaching has taught me some fundamental skills that I'm going to teach you today in the area of self-advocacy so you can avoid or better manage than I did. Okay, so we want to be proactive, but also be prepared to handle stressors. So quick overview, going to cover quickly why confidence matters, talk about why self-advocacy matters, and then here are the 4 areas: setting boundaries, getting resourceful, managing your time, speaking up. I also added last minute. I like to actually prepare for these very last minute because I did talk on similar points frequently, and I really truly believe I have like strange last minute inspiration. So I'm adding something special today. It's called Energy Influencers. And it's inspired, it comes from my coach training program, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, or IPEC, IPEC for short. Very interesting stuff that we're going to talk about briefly today. So that's going to help us think about, how do we maximize our energy? How do we feel fired up to advocate for ourselves? And when we're not, why? Why not? What is holding us back? Super important to think about all of those things to make sure that you actually do go through this framework, these different self-coaching points, okay? So we'll get there in a minute, but first, let's talk about confidence. Confidence matters. I think a lack of confidence is the single common thread amongst career concerns for ambitious professionals. So just a few different examples of how it manifests: lacking confidence in your abilities. So critical when you're transitioning from school to the workforce. I don't know what I'm doing. You hear it all the time. I didn't learn how to do this in law school. Same kind of idea though, when you transition into any new job, even in leadership. I don't know how to do this job. The second one is lacking confidence in your decision-making abilities. I've even talked to folks who are like, well, I made a bad decision the last time I switched jobs. I don't trust myself to make the right decision. I love helping people really make conscious decisions, think everything through. The third one, lacking confidence in your leadership abilities. All of a sudden, you're supervising someone and you get no training to do that. It's super common in the legal field. I do not know how to do this. Or so-and-so is upset with me, giving negative feedback. I don't know how to do anything differently. Very important to develop those leadership skills. And finally, lack of confidence in your ability to actually achieve meaningful work-life balance. Very common topic in this field. A lot of people feel like it's not possible. So we want to be thinking about how we can shift that. And let's just think about the difference here, how it shows up. Self-doubt. What's the problem when we're not confident? Leads to stress, anxiety. That's that perpetual worry. Poor self-advocacy results in failure to reach your full potential. And all the folks I talk to, that's the goal. We just want to be our best. Confidence. We're talking about enhancing your performance. Remember at the beginning, I said performance and well-being. Those are the 2 main components we want to think about when it comes to success and sustainability of our career. Enhances performance, peace, a sense of peace. When I ask people before we work together what they want at the end of the day, a lot of them say peace. Just want a sense of peace and calm. Performance, peace, creativity. You cannot access creativity until you clear out lower level energy, that's stress. Collaboration, huge, especially as you advance in your career. Healthy risk taking. You know that no risk, no reward, or greater risk, greater reward. It's super important to take a little bit of risk, which lawyers don't like, stereotyping, but, and then joy. So it results in the pursuit of growth and new opportunities. Again, at the end of the day, that's the goal, growing here. So let's get into the energy influencers. What I'd love for you to do, we're going to do a couple of exercises with this, and then I'll figure out how to pull up the chat, even where, let me see. Well, maybe Ben will just look at it for me because I don't know. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm pulling up the chat. So first, before we get to the chat, coming back to this slide. So I want you to do a little exercise. I want you to find something nearby, like a water bottle. This is a great example. A water bottle, your phone, I guarantee your phone is like 2 inches away from your hand right now. Just find anything, okay? Hold it up. I want you to hold it high while I do a quick review of these 6 energy influencers. So way up high, okay? Here we go. Number 1, spiritual influencer. This is related to your sense of purpose, your values, or your beliefs. So who are you really? What do you care about most? We tend to have more positive energy for a situation when it is in alignment with who we are and the things we value most. So sometimes I'll use the word energy. You can substitute that with confidence too. Tend to be more confident when we feel like we're in alignment. Yeah, this is what I was meant to be doing. I can do this, right? Mental influencer, super important for legal work, refers to how we process our thoughts. It's not what we're thinking about, not the substance. So we have more energy or confidence when we are able to focus and have clarity for what we are doing. Think about when you get an assignment and you don't know what the hell you're doing. I was just talking to someone the other day. They're like, I got an assignment and it was not clear. How was I supposed to know what I was doing? It was very frustrating. Okay, mental influencers. The environmental influencer is related to the settings or conditions in which we are. When these conditions are supportive, we approach the situation with more energy, confidence, and motivation. Right before we got on the call, I ran out and blasted my AC. I'm in Kansas. It's hot here, y'all. I used to be I said something about University of San Diego. I did live in California. That's where I'm barred, by the way, for 14 years. Went to law school there and worked there. So it's hot here. I need the AC. If I was dripping sweat, which has totally happened before with presentations, I might not feel so confident, right? And that's getting into physical influencer, but that's because of the environment. Slight chill in the air, it feels good, keeps me on my toes, right? It's beautiful. I had my friend help me beautify my office. That makes me feel good. It influences my energy. I definitely feel more confident. And I feel like my office looks nice and professional. Physical influencer, that's related to the body and how much ability we have to move and take actions to accomplish whatever task is at hand. The social influencer is related to society, relationships, about your coworkers. We tend to be more engaged and motivated when we feel supported. That makes sense. And finally, the emotional influencer. It's related to our emotional intelligence and how we feel about situations. Okay, go ahead and put your arm down. I tortured you long enough. And let's just chat a little bit about what happened and why I asked you to hold something up. Put something for me in the chat. What thoughts do you have? Why were you holding something? And how did that influence your energy? Maybe you got a little frustrated with me. Maybe it was weighing your arm down. Maybe you were uncomfortable. You're thinking, why am I here? Someone put focus and retention in the Q&A. Yeah, focus. If you're holding something and it's starting to hurt, oh, the chat is disabled. Thank you. I don't know if we can fix that, but Q&A, yeah, great, you guys, use the Q&A. Thank you, people are popping them in there. Yeah, if this hurts, I'm thinking about the pain. Distracted, thank you. I'm distracted. I can't focus, right? When I'm uncomfortable. Retention, how am I retaining information? Someone put retention. I can't retain information. I don't know what the hell Emily just said. She's talking about these crazy energy influencers. I don't know what that means. Okay, great. The chat is enabled now. So you can use that too. Thank you, everyone. So just some quick examples, but that's exactly what it is. This is distracting our attention. Now, thinking about mental influencers, we don't have clarity. Again, physical, it might be painful, and then I'm frustrated that it's that emotional influencer. You see how all this goes hand in hand, okay? Again, the idea why I'm sharing this information is there's so many different things that influence how we show up and influence our confidence, okay? So if we are trying to develop and build our confidence over time, we need to address the things that are impacting our confidence. So I want you to be thinking about this after today. You can add this to your action plan that we're going to get to in a little bit. I want you to be thinking more about this. What does influence my energy? Maybe even take an inventory tomorrow or someday in the future. Just see what you notice. Jot some ideas down and shoot me an email sometime soon. What does influence my energy? And if it's dragging me down, how can I change it? What can I do about it? If it's building me up, how can I do more of that? And I love speaking. All of a sudden I thought about that, I realized that, and I started pursuing more speaking opportunities. Okay, energy influencers. So we'll just keep those in mind as we're going through the rest of the program today. So we talked about why confidence matters. Now self-advocacy. See it all the time. We get stuck when we're sitting back waiting for opportunities to fall into our lap. And isn't that great when that happens? It's just easier. It's lovely. For some people, that's how it's always been. I mean, if you, especially like in law school, you got really good grades. Now, you worked hard for it. I'm not saying you didn't. But if you got good grades and then you went right through into OCIs or however it works for you, and you got a lot of offers, you get out in the real world, you got to do some other stuff to keep growing. It's not just getting the work done, okay? You could even be promoted to partner maybe, but then you have no business development skills and you're set up for failure, right? You've got to be growing constantly. Also, we have untapped resources. We cannot be meeting our full potential if we are not tapping into all of the powerful resources we have at our disposal. And number 3, setting boundaries, tapping into resources, managing your time, and speaking up. These are just plain critical skills for sustaining success. You've heard me say it so many times, and I'll say it again. I don't just talk about how to achieve success. Boom, you get a great job and you're done. That's kind of like my role as a career advisor back in the day, right? I'm gonna help you get a job, send you on your way, good luck. You got a lot of people to serve. It's so important, though, to be providing lawyers resources to be successful on an ongoing basis. How do you sustain your success? Self-advocacy is one way. So we're going to go through these 4 different areas of self-advocacy. I encourage you, the chat is enabled. Thank you, Beth. I encourage you to participate as we go through these. I'll ask for some participation. I really want you thinking for yourself about these 4 different areas and how they apply for you, what you can be doing differently. And then at the end, when you put that action plan together, it will be easier. So you're going to be compiling some of your thoughts from these 4 different areas. And again, we'll have some time for questions at the end as well. So number 1, setting boundaries. I feel like this is probably one of the most common things I hear lawyers articulate, I struggle with. And folks, this is at the entry level and this is at partner level. I had a good friend over the other night who was a partner in big law. And I mean, it was like a family dinner. And we were talking about boundaries. And he was like, I'm doing a great job helping my associates. And I also have to think about it for myself. And that's true. We really, really do. So at all career stages. So what does this even mean? Let's think a little bit more there. Let's think about some examples. Anyone have examples of challenges with boundaries? If they could share in the chat, and then I'll share some of my thoughts as well. What boundaries? What makes it difficult to set boundaries when practicing law? What thoughts do you have? I'll give some examples. There we go. Frequent unscheduled pop-in phone calls. Yes, that happened to me on a client call today. She said, oh my God, I have to cut our call short. I just got an emergency call. Yep, a client was asking for a reduced rate. I'm a solo. I need to pay my bills, right? That's hard though, because you need the business too. It's so hard. Meeting deadlines, responding to client emergencies, tons of emergencies in this industry, real and simply perceived emergencies that might not actually be emergencies. We have to figure that one out. Profit motive, and when there's work to do, why not? Ooh, yes. A lot of us are workaholics. We like to work. It feels good. We've been groomed all these years to feel good from achievement. That A in school, and then winning that case, right? Feels good. So why not? If work's coming in, makes me feel good. People pleasing is very common. I don't fully understand it because it's not, I am not a people pleaser. I'm very direct, and very, very common. So just talking about this earlier today with a client, the idea with people pleasing is it's actually strong mid-level energy that comes from a place of compassion. So it seems like the right thing to do, right? Where we want to make people feel good, we care about others. That's the primary thought there. I'm concerned about other people. But when we overdo that energy level, it can be problematic. We need to set some boundaries. These are such good examples. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Technology. Oh, that's an interesting one. Tina, I'd love to hear more about that. Partners requesting work, checking email after hours is such a habit. I think for everyone nowadays, for sure. I recently posted something, I don't know if you all saw on LinkedIn and on Instagram, Ariana Huffington is now selling a bed for your phone, a phone bed with satin sheets. It's hilarious. And it has the different outlets in it. But the whole idea is, like, if I put my phone to bed in my office, then it won't be in my bedroom at night. I can't be checking it. Might be helpful, something we should explore. How to set boundaries when you are on vacation and someone wants your help at work? Another common topic I help people think through, what to do on vacation. And look, the whole thing with vacation, when you've got billable hours, Are you going to come back to a shitstorm, right? Are you going to come back and then feel like crazy pressure? Then you can't relax on vacation. So how do we find that nice balance? Great. Partner expecting to continue work on cases from when I first started. Now, years later, I have my own large caseload. You're overloaded, right? Very, like probably the most literal, concrete example of a boundary issue. I have too much work. How do I say no? That was actually my first example here. How do I say no? My second one was, how do I take time off? There's the vacation issue. Feeling guilty for asking for time off. The belief that we're supposed to be in before anyone else and out after everyone else. Believing that we have to keep our doors open all the time. Some of us, we don't work well like that. Feeling like it's easier to just do things yourself. Yep, had that conversation this week too. Why am I going to delegate and assign things if it's quicker for me to just do it? Even though over time, that might accumulate to become an issue. In the moment, definitely difficult. As an attorney, having to supervise paralegals, sometimes I feel like they don't listen or follow instructions. Yeah, how do you work with other people to have healthy boundaries? That enforcement piece, rewarding others who don't exercise boundaries. I mean, again, this is bringing in other people to the mix. It's one thing if we do personal development on our own. We could be great, we grow, we're amazing. And real world people, right? We work with other people and they totally shake up that dynamic. So our boundaries, their boundaries, we got to think about this coming together. And then the final one, and then we'll move on. These are just too good. Complexity of the law, my relative newness. It's hard to know what I should know versus what legitimately requires billable time to research. Yes, again, another very literal, concrete one for new attorneys. How much time should I be spending? Question there. Can you check in with your supervisor on that? What would you expect as a reasonable amount of time for me to spend on this? So something you will explore over time as you get more experience, you'll play with. But yes, that question's popping up. I don't know when to close up on this. Great. Thank you for participating. So let's go through this slide before moving on. These are some coaching questions. I want you to ask yourself, what boundary would be helpful to get your work done more effectively? Or another perspective, better separate work from home. That's what a lot of people think about when the topic of boundaries come up, but you all gave some really excellent other examples that may go more to the first one. So we're thinking about performance and then also well-being with the second question here, or the second option here, in terms of having some work-life balance or getting to have a personal life outside of work. And then number two, who do you need to talk to? What conversations do you need to have? And number three, what else do you need to support you? Maybe some resources, maybe someone at home who can support you, but what else? What else do you need? Okay, let's move on. Awesome. Tapping into resources. We get to that word. Okay, early on, we don't have a huge network. Today, when we say resources, we're going to focus on people. One of my favorite types of resources. So early on, we don't have a huge network. We build that over time, but you do have some people and you can be building and growing. It's so common to just want to keep our head down and do the work because that feels like enough, feels like all the capacity we have. It may also feel scary to ask people for help. I hear that a lot too. I don't want to look stupid. Fear of looking or sounding stupid is a very common concern of early career lawyers. So what can we do to tap into our resources to make sure we are setting up the most supportive network possible? Number one, who already are your biggest supporters and how can you lean into them even more? Number two, who else could you bring on board? Now, this idea of a personal board of directors, just to clarify, it's casual, okay? I'm not saying make some formal board and appoint people and have position descriptions. That would be cool, but it's a little much. So just casual in your mind for your own personal knowledge, have a list of people and how they can support you. and notice where there might be some gaps. And that's when we want to bring some other folks on board. Okay. Managing your time. Time management. We love to talk about this. Sometimes I encourage people to shift their perspective from time management to energy management. Quick note on that. Spending 2 hours doing something you hate affects your energy far differently from spending 2 hours on something you love. So I've had interesting conversations with folks where we're talking about working long hours in work that you love, like myself, what I do now. Sometimes I work cuckoo hours. It's energizing. I love this work. There's very little, if anything, that I do for my work now that I don't want to be doing and that's draining or pulling me away from something, and I'm resentful about it. So it's energizing. I've been in other jobs where I've worked less hours and been drained. Okay. So that is one thing I want you to think about too, energy management versus time management. But if we want to get specific about time management, I'm going to think about identifying the skills that are important to acquire or improve, and then developing a plan to acquire or improve those skills. So we're talking about time management. What will help you manage your time better? So a few quick notes here. How we actually spend our time is often very different from our perception of how we spend our time. I encourage you, if you do nothing else, sit down and really jot down your schedule for the day and see how that lines up. See if what you think you're doing and how much time you're spending scrolling through social media, I don't know, whatever it is, go to the grocery store. I might say, oh, grocery store, that'll take 45 minutes. Okay, but it takes 15 minutes to drive there, 15 minutes to get home, get my kid in the car. Like, oh shoot, it takes twice as long. So I want you to assess how much time things actually take. Identify the tasks, categorize them. What do you have to do? What would be nice to get done? And what's stuff that you're spending your time doing that you can just cut out? I just don't need to be doing that. It's neither helping with my work performance or my well-being. Explore distractions. What is distracting me from getting to bed on time, for example? That's really hard for me. I sit in my office and like tool away late at night. I love to do this. So what's distracting me? And developing a plan to make a change. And then finally, exploring delegation, also something I've been working on very recently with clients. What can you take off your plate and who can help? Right? And finally, speaking up. We talked about this earlier, how we don't want to look or sound stupid. Totally legitimate fear, totally normal. Right? We're in an industry that expects and often demands perfection. So it makes sense that you would be scared of sounding stupid. You also are a high achiever probably, right? We're used to those standards. We internalize those standards for ourselves, even if no one else is demanding them. Totally normal. And it's time to check that fear. We really have to check it. So when we're thinking we shouldn't question things, we should speak up, we should sit back and hope things work out, we do want to shift that a little bit. So of course we want to be respectful. Okay, we want to be really conscious about our delivery and presentation of information and questions. Definitely something that most of us need to work on an ongoing basis, myself included. But let's think about, when do you feel small? And what conversations could you have that would effectuate change? And then again, that question about resources. So for example, maybe, well, let's just see what examples you all have, since you listed so many nice ones last time. And I see your question there. I'll answer this question while people are thinking. When during the workday do you feel small? Maybe at a staff meeting, things like that, where you can't speak up, maybe in court. What ideas do you have? And pop those in the chat. So the question here is, how do you suggest responding when the response doesn't seem to be welcomed? This is something to think through and definitely depends on the situation. So again, we want to be proactive, prepare, and then also think things through when situations arise that don't go to plan and think how we want to respond. So being proactive is preparing for your conversations, thinking about your communication style and the other person's tendency, their preferred communication style. If they mismatch and you're doing the personal development work here, hopefully they are too, but we want to be doing everything we can on our end, thinking about their preferences. Sometimes if you don't know them, we could ask. Great question to ask, especially of a supervisor. How would you prefer I give you updates? What are your preferred communication style? What is your preferred communication style? Your natural tendencies. I'd love to accommodate them. Great conversation to have. If things are not received well, then we go to plan B, right? How are we going to handle this? What's really going on? What are the facts here? Always great to start with the facts and then check the stories we might be making up in our heads and then addressing concerns. So definitely case by case, but I love that question because it allows us to emphasize the idea of proactively preparing for difficult conversations and then also managing them when they come up. Emotion regulation is super important when that happens. So managing your own emotions, staying as neutral as possible, kind of again, sticking to facts. But then again, it depends on the situation in terms of how we address it. Okay, what else came up here? I feel small, seeing others so successful, especially younger folks, when I have no clue how to solve the problem. So comparisonitis, and then that's what we were talking about earlier, when we lack confidence in our ability, I don't know what I'm doing. A lot of us are fixers. We love to fix problems. It feels really good, right? So it's frustrating when you are not able to do that. Makes perfect sense, great examples. New associate, larger firm where people are more detached and cold. Yeah, a question about how to navigate that. Great question. Definitely common when we think about, I shouldn't say common, stereotypical with certain law firm cultures, more detached and cold. And yeah, that's something to navigate over time. Again, also personal. So connect with me afterwards, folks, when you've got these great questions and if we don't have time to expand on them. But that's something we want to be thinking about. What is important to me at the end of the day? How can I show up as my authentic self? What do I need? What will make me feel good? And then also, what are the firm's expectations in terms of professionalism and standards? And we're always striving here with self-advocacy to find the perfect balance. That's why I like that question to other folks who you work with, asking them, what is your preferred communication style? And maybe even telling them your natural tendency. I tend to do this and I would love to adjust and accommodate yours. This is collaboration, folks. These are leadership skills. So your questions here are really wonderful to get the wheels spinning and start thinking, how can we start having more conversations with folks in the office to make it feel more collaborative? What are little ways where you can be yourself? Who do you feel comfortable with? I support some folks who kind of have their team, that's going back to that personal board, may work in a firm where it is a little cold, and finding the folks that they feel like they can really chat with and are open, and they have that list. And those are the people they go to. They might even go to folks outside of the office, into another office. I helped someone last year who worked in-house and she worked by herself. And so she had mentors who were in firms working for different employers even. So let's get really creative and thinking outside the box when we think about our resources and how we can start speaking up more. People forget who I am, even though we've met before. And then we interpret that, right? We come up with a story about that. It doesn't feel good. And so we come up with a story about what that means. So shifting your energy up, thinking, I encourage you to think about from other people's perspectives. Maybe they're busy. Come up with excuses for them. That can make it feel a little bit better. And then a plan. Someone forgot who I was, no problem. You can tell them, oh, we met the other day at such and such, whatever your plan might be. If that feels uncomfortable, that's okay. Then you can work on your own discomfort, right? So do what's comfortable for you. But yeah, that might make you feel small. When people don't know who you are, you've met before, you have a place, you belong there. So do your own inner critic work. Don't internalize that stuff. It certainly takes some time, but we can work on that. Team meetings, yep, very common when we don't have the ability to speak up much. When I feel like I can't leave for personal stuff, yes. Very, very common early on. How do you take care of yourself? I have some severe health issues, 3 autoimmune diseases, and had really terrible stuff popping up when I was a law associate, and I was going to a hearing every day hobbling. I couldn't walk. So I had such bad back pain. My spine has like fused a little bit at the bottom. And then I'm like not going to the doctor because I feel like I can't pull away from work. Talk to other folks like that too. You've got to be taking care of yourself. So again, thinking about who can you have conversations with at your office or your employer? Who can you talk to? Who feels like a safe space? And even asking for their input. Every firm or employer culture is different. So really great to get feedback from people from the inside. So I'm kind of high level here, giving you some ideas to get those, again, wheels spinning. And then I encourage you to get some thoughts, more specific, concrete ideas, work collaboratively with people who you work with. And then finally, working through nervous, anxious energy, staying calm, relaxed, engaged, and comfortable. Yes, I mean, that is so common with lawyers generally, some other industries too. But how do we manage our own energy in that kind of environment? There's the environmental energy influencer, right? Great example. If you're showing up in a space where everyone's buzzing around and nervous and anxious and always putting out fires, of course it's hard to stay calm, relaxed, engaged, and comfortable. Makes perfect sense. So now we want to think about what can we do to change these things. So let's get to this action plan. Number 1, identify one boundary you'd like to set. We opened up a can of worms here, folks, with these issues we'd like to change. I want to remind you, these are baby steps we're taking, okay? One boundary you'd like to set. Explore the resources and conversations that you need. Number 2, start developing that personal board of directors. Who would you like to be on it? Number 3, what's first step in terms of adjusting your schedule? Something you could add, something you could cut. And then number 4, practice speaking up for yourself. And like we talked about, that may start with that personal board of directors. These aren't all exclusive, mutually exclusive. So you may want to identify the personal board of directors and think, who could I have a conversation about this stuff with at work? Who could give me some more scoop on what might be preferred communication styles, or even asking people directly, but having more conversations about what you need, setting those boundaries, that's going to go hand in hand with speaking up too. So I'm quickly going to go through the news I wanted to share and how we can stay in touch. And then we'll probably have like a couple minutes for questions real quick. So I'll try to be fast. We scratched the surface today. This stuff takes work. Confidence building takes work. Okay. So please stay in touch with me. Connect. Let's connect on LinkedIn, very active there. On Instagram too. You can, of course, always send me an email about anything. And my website is here, hirstikorncoaching.com. Lots of good stuff. So a couple of things. Number one, you can always book a consult with me, okay? If you're like, yes, I need more of this, I want the ongoing support, I've got something specific in mind, great. You can always book a call, hirstikorncoaching.com/chat. Okay, that's number 2 there. And I'm very excited to be launching something new. I'm calling it the Confident Leadership Academy. It is a 6-month leadership development program. So we've got several exciting things in it. Just very briefly, it's really like a leadership boot camp. We're going to be exploring in an on-demand course 8 key areas of confident leadership. You will have one-on-one coaching in the 3 biggest growth areas that we determine from a 360 assessment that really identifies your top strengths and then those key areas for growth. This is very interesting because this is something that I encourage people to talk to their employer about funding. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that companies pay for. So if you have something specific or you're struggling with something or you're wanting to make a move, let's hop on a call and let's chat. And we're not talking about the Leadership Academy. But if you're like, I'm doing okay and I want to grow, I want to be my best, or I want to make partners soon, or I started supervising people and don't know what I'm doing, it's freaking me out. Let's talk about this Confident Leadership Academy. So here's what I'm going to do. If you're already on my mailing list, just email me about this and I'll send you some info. Okay, I've given nobody information about this yet. You all will be the first to know. Literally no one. Posted nothing about it, nobody. If you are not on my mailing list yet, text resources to 66866. You'll get on my mailing list, and then I will also know that you want information about the Confident Leadership Academy. Okay, so I'm going to check my email tonight and I'll send some information out this week. Okay, but stay in touch. Let me know what you're looking for, whether things are tough and you need a way out, or things are okay and you just want to advance and be your very best. Maybe your firm mentioned coaching, I don't know. But let's talk and we'll figure out what works best for you. Okay, that's all on my end. If they'll let me, I'm going to do a little bit with the questions. Let's see. Ben, do I have a minute or 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So if you cannot stay, thank you for coming. Totally get it. We'll talk soon. If you can, we'll spend another couple of minutes. So when clients do not include me or pass over my input when asking more senior attorneys about issues, yes, I think that was probably in response to feeling small. Definitely happens. I think it's probably more common than you realize. And yeah, you worked your ass off to get where you are. You definitely are authoritative. You know your stuff. What a knock to confidence, right? That does not feel great. So again, I encourage you to think about what conversations you can have when things like that happen with your supervisor. Figure out how you can collaborate as a team to appear as a team, as an authoritative team to the clients. Another question. How do you know when you have overcorrected on self-care boundaries? I love this question. Or is that workaholic feeling just sneaking in? It's such a good question. So I'm laughing and I love it because I've totally been guilty of this. When I left my position at USD, I'd been coaching and then I was just coaching. I'm like, I'm going to start my workday at 11 a.m. I'm going to be done at 3, you know, the 4-hour workday kind of thing. I'm not working on Fridays. Oh, and Wednesdays are going to be wellness Wednesdays. I'm going to go to the spa. Like, sounded fucking great, right? But it was just, how was I building my business? I was not working enough to be building my business. Okay. So look, realistically, 5 years from now, that might totally be my schedule. But we do have to check it. So great question. 100% a personal case-by-case inquiry. So that's something we could flesh out. But I would encourage you to think about, ask that question again, what has to get done in terms of work? Okay, so performance and well-being. You guys are gonna, that's all you're gonna remember from today. Performance, well-being, performance, well-being. You got to get your work done to keep your job, to make money, to pay your bills, and to feel accomplished, right? So play with what needs to get done. How can I sprinkle in some nice to-dos? But then how can I also prioritize the self-care stuff? What can I start putting on my calendar, like an appointment for myself, just like I would for an appointment for someone else? Lots of mindset stuff we could do, coaching we could do there too. Because a lot of us don't believe deeply in our core. We believe we are here to serve everyone else. It's really hard to wrap our heads around, oh, it's okay and actually a good thing and appropriate to be taking care of myself so that I can get back to serving everyone else in a better fashion. Wonderful question. Okay, so that's what I saw in the Q&A. I'm pulling up the chat. Do you provide consults to discuss salary negotiations? We can do that. I'll say this, I come from a career development background, so I do have, certainly have some thoughts on that. But if I'm not the appropriate resource for you, happy to chat with you and send you in that direction. I have tons of great folks in my network who are providing a variety of services to lawyers. So let me know, even if you're not sure. Thanks for asking. I think that's it. What should I be focusing on? Oh, there we go. Came in before. As a brand new attorney, what should I be focusing on this first year? Big question. How much time you got? No, just kidding. Look, I'm just going to say it again. Performance and well-being. So I encourage you to think about that. Those broad categories, quick exercise you can do for yourself. You can sit down and map out performance, well-being. What would the ideal look like? If I was performing at my ideal level, what would that look like? Jot all your thoughts down. Well-being, same thing. Bed by 11, waking up at 7, whatever it is. Identify the gaps. Where are you not meeting those standards? And then just one first step. Pick one. Usually doesn't matter, in my opinion. But pick one, something that feels accessible. Where can you get started in terms of development? That's what I would recommend if you're like, I'm just getting started. I think I got lots to work on. That's a little exercise you can do. Okay, I think we covered everything. Did I miss anything?
I see one question. Did you get the one in the Q&A about the responding to the client questions, even if we don't have the answer yet?
Oh, this is a new one. Yeah, until I have I don't like to respond to a client with a question until I have the answer. Natural. Even simply responding, acknowledging receipt before I have the answer causes me anxiety. Yes, we like to know. That certainty feels so good. However, with technology these days, I feel as though there's this expectation for a response within half a business day, or people think you're ignoring them. Again, I would check in with the folks that you work with. So if you're an associate and you have a supervising associate or partner who's overseeing everything, I would get on the same page with them in terms of their expectations with client communication. A lot of times they can be really particular about these things. And frankly, people do things totally differently, right? So that's the problem. If we're looking for one universal standard, which is why I try so hard not to give advice, it doesn't exist, okay? So keep that in mind. Again, I encourage you to have more conversations about the expectations within your office. If you're solo, then that is certainly for you to decide. If we were working together, we would totally be fleshing out what are the concerns, what's causing the anxiety, what are the costs and benefit, doing a cost benefit analysis in terms of your different options. If you respond right away, what are the costs, what are the benefits? If you don't, what are the costs, what are the benefits? Just to make sure you're making a conscious decision. So that's something, an exercise you could certainly do as well. Flesh out all your thoughts on that. But again, if you're in a team, I highly encourage you to connect with your team to set some expectations. This is key. Managing up is essential sometimes when you're not getting that direction. Again, we sit back, we wish we complain, we wish they would just tell us what to do. this is where self-advocacy comes into play. Speaking up, asking good questions, having ongoing communication with your team. Great question. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for indulging me and letting me go over a little bit.
No, that's great. And I'm sure if people think of more questions from all this material, Emily would be happy to talk to you more using that slide. There you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
Because I just know for myself personally, a lot of these things resonate. I'm a little bit more on the side of now starting to supervise people. So yes, asking and those kind of things. I did not do that when I was the one who was asking the question. And now I'm like, yes, that's perfect.
Yes. And so now you're in an interesting spot. The question becomes, how can you obviously strengthen your own position, but also how can you empower the folks you're supervising and help them step up? Great.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for having me. Everyone stay in touch. I'm sure we'll see each other soon in some vein. And happy birthday, Ben.
All right. Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.